Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal. We are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with our feelings. And today I'm going to be talking particularly about feeling the confidence of listening to your inner voice, or in my cases, voices. I seem to have more than one. That doesn't mean that I am, you know, losing it. It means that there is a fire. I think about it this way. Think about the word intuition, and maybe that makes it easier rather than if you don't like the idea of I've got voices in my head, that means I'm definitely got a problem. To all of you, I hope you're going to enjoy this because it's full of the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's the story of my week. And what I want you to do is to understand that sometimes listening to your inner voices brings incredible change and experiences, both good and bad, because life's like that. But it really is amazing what it does. But before I do that, I want to read to you something that Jody, and those of you who don't know, Jody is admin. This is something that Jody um, sent me this week, and I thought you guys would enjoy it. Here you go. It says, something beautiful happens when you stop waiting to be chosen, instead choose yourself. When you love yourself first, when you can be alone with the shape of yourself, when you can stop running away from your truth, the right people start to show up. The right opportunities suddenly align. All the hustling you are doing, trying to make yourself more worthy, stops feeling right. And instead, you get into the flow of life. And everything that you thought you'd have to earn and strive for seems to come a lot more easily. When you choose you, everything and everyone has to rise to that level. And all the good things you thought you'd have to force arrive in perfect timing. Yes, you need to show up. Yes, you need to do the work. But it'll all be with the right people, the right opportunities, and the kind of life that lightens you up from inside. I wonder if you know what I'm talking about. Because you are lit from the inside. I think for a lot of our lives, we thought that we needed other people to light us up. All right. And if only I had, a husband or whatever, then I would be happy. No, no. Believe you me, it doesn't work that way. It's about, are you a light and fun person inside? If you are, then your life will be light and fun, and you won't always be victim to needing other people. However, today we're going to talk about our inner voices. And for those of you who are new to the broadcast, welcome. Dear Mama Sal is not just me. We're a group of people who get together and we discuss different aspects of coping with life during the week. What we do is on Friday lunchtime, we talk about coping with feelings or something around that. And then on Friday evenings, we do coping with life where we cook on a very limited budget and have fun making all sorts of interesting meals just using leftovers. And then on Sunday afternoon, we do coping with stress because we all have it. Ray Bennett said, follow your heart, listen to your inner voice, and stop caring what others think. To me, it takes great courage to do that, doesn't it? How many of you have tried it? And what you will find is when you do that, you you find freedom, but you also lose some friends, right? Because you're not playing their game anymore. It upsets them. And so just be aware that everything comes with its price. There is no free lunch on this one, right? If you change what you're doing, it will change the friends that are around you. And that's a lot of what happens in our real life. So for those of you who are fairly new, I'd like to introduce you to Jody, who's our admin. And Jody does great work researching stuff that comes up during the broadcast. How she does it is beyond me. but she manages to multitask that in a most incredible way. Um, and for those of you who are new, please make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and of course the Dear Mama Sal website. And the reason for that is something I'm going to talk about in a second. Just literally dearmamasal.com. So our birthdays this week have been Linda earlier in the week, and Farmer was on the 26th. Just a reminder again about pet safety. Please understand with this incredible heat, yes, look after yourself and keep yourself cool, but also make sure you keep your pets cool, please. And my thought for the day, or my tip for the day, is if you're getting into your car that's been sitting in the heat without it, it's been literally just sitting there in the heat, make sure you don't get in it immediately. All right. What the trick is, you've probably seen it when you open the door. There's like a wavy thing going on inside. That is the heat buildup inside, and what happens is that the toxins from your plastics and everything else in your car, all right, I get extruded. And so the most important thing, all right, the most important thing you can do is if you go to get into your car, open the doors as many as you can, and just wait 30 seconds for that air to leave, to leave your car. Because that's not good air. And, in the old days, I used to just jump in and drive, and you probably smelt it. It's a funny smell to it. But just literally open the doors or the windows, if you want to get, just open the windows up, but do something to let that toxic air out of your car before you get in. All right, so there's another tip for the day. I want to say that the feeling that I got overall this week. What about you guys? What was your feeling of the week? My feeling of the week was shock, I think. More than anything, I was in shock. And you're going to hear why, but it really was quite funny. Depending on who you are. And again, another tip for the day, for those of you who might be into crafts, which I am. I found a really good hack for glitter. There's an old adage that says, if 6 people go to do crafts together and one of them is using glitter, 6 of them will go home covered in glitter. All right, glitter gets everywhere, doesn't it? And so one of the things that that I found was before you use, I'm using glitter card, all right, card that's got glitter stuck to it, but it keeps falling off and it gets everywhere. So now what I do is I very, very slowly take it out of its packaging, and I've got my cardboard down and I put it down on the cardboard, and before I do anything, I take hairspray and I spray the whole of that piece of card in hairspray. What I'm doing is putting a barrier to seal that glitter so that it doesn't drop off as I'm cutting it and as I'm doing stuff with it. So there's a tip for you as well. Jody, we really should start a tips page. When I think about it, I keep talking about it, but I think it needs to go on the website. What do you think? All right, so I've got all sorts of stories to tell you. Excuse me, I've got allergy stuff going on. I forgot to take my meds this morning. But the first thing I wanted to let you know was I had great fun because I completed my favorite Christmas card. Well, it's my favorite to date. I actually made it last year, but I made 2 last year and I loved them both, but one of them was easy to make, relatively, and the other one was difficult to make. And this is the one that was difficult to make, but you can probably see why I love it. And I want to talk to you about, can you imagine just how much time that takes? Now, I was trying to work out just how many bits there are to it. I thought it was 17, but it might only be 13. All right, so this is 2 bits. The 3 wise men themselves is made up of 2 bits. Then there's this bit behind it, that's 3. The big card that it's all stuck to is 4. 5, 6. These are 2 bits here, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pieces to make that card. Now, that's just, you can probably imagine, just cutting out those 14 pieces takes a bit of time. And then, you got to weed out the windows in the little houses there. Can you see them? How about trying to get the inner star out? It's really interesting when you do it. And I want to tell you that when I'm making it, I keep thinking I'm not going to get it right and it's going to end up a mess. And then I get it all together and I look at it and I go, isn't that just, as Jody says, it's a stunning card, right? And what I find so interesting is that I'm inclined not to sign it. When I send it to people, I don't sign it. I just put a little piece of paper in there, a bit of card that I drop in the center here so that they know who it's from, but they can keep it as a decoration. And that's what I like to do, is send cards that people can keep as Christmas decorations. So the interesting, and then the complexity of it, all right? To get this written and then on a piece of card and then on another piece of card, how complex is that? I want to tell you, there are times when you wonder, why am I even doing this? Right? Because as you're going to hear, my business mind goes, this is insane. But my creative mind just is so energized by doing it. Isn't that weird? How many of you remember my story last week about the house that's standing a little bit crooked and seemed to have a problem with it? Well, I actually wrote to the artist who designed it. And I said, as some of you may remember, I said to her, just want to let you know that this has a technical problem to it. And I know it's not me because I've made it twice and exactly the same technical problem happens both times. Well, I ended up getting an answer back from the artist, and she actually thanked me because apparently there had been a revision of that design, and the place where I got my design hadn't uploaded the revised version. And she said, if you hadn't written to me, I wouldn't know that they still had the wrong one. And I went, my pleasure. Then there are no coincidences, right? What did I find out? She lives in Kent. That's where I grew up. And then I found out that she lives close to Tunbridge Wells. Well, hello, I went to school in Tunbridge Wells. Coincidences? I don't think so. But the other thing that I found out, of all the designs I really love, this, I love this. I did the white one this week. I did the red one for you last week. This is the white one. Isn't it pretty? She designed this as well, as you know. And that's the house that I had was an addition to this setup. And then I found out that she is the same artist that designed the deer. Same artist. And then I looked at it, and there were so many other designs that I had that I love. And it wasn't until I got her name and realized how many of the designs that really touch my soul are coming from her. So I wrote and told her that. And what I did is I got a whole collection of the ones that I love and put them together and said, I'm a little obsessed by your work. But, if I hadn't bothered to write to her and tell her that I thought there was an error in the design, she wouldn't have known that somebody was selling her design and it was the wrong one. So I thought that's really interesting. Your inner voice is subtle, but grows stronger when you listen. How many of you have found that you've got an inner voice trying to warn you or help you or do whatever? And the more you listen to it, the more you can hear it. So it's an important thing to know that you need to give yourself space to hear. Now, next thing I want to tell you about was while I was busy playing or working, depending on how you look at it, this week, um, I realized that I was trying to fix a problem. Let me try and tell you the technicalities of this, all right? I need to be able to get all this intricate design to stick to the backing card, all right? Now, the only way I found to do that is actually to spray it with spray glue. But for some reason, and it hasn't been a problem up until this week, of course, where suddenly the spray glue was getting onto the card so you could see it. And I really didn't like that. So a couple more tips, Jody. Can you write these down so I add them somewhere? A couple more tips, because I don't think about the tips until I start talking about them. Number one is if you're spray gluing something like this, where the spray is going to go through, all right? In other words, you can see with that design, if I spray it on the back, there's going to be a lot of glue here, 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 and here that's going to end up on the cardboard. Before I put the next card down to spray it, I found out that's a really good idea to make sure that that sticky on the cardboard has gone. Otherwise, it'll end up on the right side of the next card. And this is what I did. I found out that just something as simple as taking a little container with some holes in it and put flour in it, and then between the spraying, I just dust it with flour and then rub it until it's, I can't feel any stickiness. Then it's safe to put the next card down. How about that for a nice, easy thing when you're spraying something? And then, it's amazing how necessity is the mother of invention. I had this week where for the first time I was getting glue in places that I didn't normally get it. And I thought, why have I not had that problem before? Never mind. And I listened to what my voice was telling me. You need to be able to clean the glue off your card. Well, I must have spent on this one card that I must have spent nearly an hour trying to get the glue off. And I went, this is insane. Why? Let me tell you, most guys would not spend an hour trying to clean up a card. They ditch the card and make 3 in that hour. Do you understand? I wish you could make 3 in an hour. But it's just like that's what they would do. But there's something about women. How many of you relate to this? That we hate to see waste where we don't have to. So, I was very quietly just getting rid of the glue any way I could. And then I suddenly thought, what if? And I was testing all sorts of different solutions to see, is there anything I can use that gets rid of the glue without ruining the card, especially if it gets onto this part. And it took me that whole hour of trying different things, knowing that the card was probably ruined anyway, didn't, so it was a good one to be doing those tests on. And then I found what worked. And it was just like, if I hadn't had the problem, I wouldn't have found the answer. And I don't believe it was a coincidence that I suddenly started to get glue on the outside, a problem I needed to fix. Why? Because when I start getting the orders for them, I'm going to need to be able to get rid of those sort of little blemishes in a hurry. And I just sat there and I just rocked back and I went, that's why I had the problem. I needed to be able to feel confident that if it happened when I'm in a hurry, I know exactly how to get rid of it. Does that make sense? But what I want you to understand was I've never in my life had reason to need to get glue off cardstock. And suddenly I did. So can any of you relate to that? That necessity is always the mother of invention. So now I have a very nice combination that I can use that just lifts it right off. It's just like, why didn't I know this before? By the way, I didn't Google it or anything. I just literally went. I'm a great believer that you have the answer to everything you need already in your house. All right. You just need to find the right combination. How about this one? Give yourself permission to immediately walk away from anything that gives you bad vibes. There is no need to explain or make sense of it. Just trust the little inner voice when it talks to you. And one of the inner voices I heard was when I was making the cards. And it said to me, you're really doing this the slowest way possible. I went, what? And it said, you need to streamline this because you're going to need to have a way of creating more in less time. So you're going to stop trying to cut one card at a time. And what I started to do was listen to that voice and go, okay, then what? And you're cutting most times on a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. So the question was, how many bits of design can you fit into, obviously, the least paper, because that's economical and you're cutting down less trees. That's the first thing you've got to think about. So in some designs, you're actually better to make 3 at a time rather than 1 at a time. I wonder if that makes sense, because you need these bits here, and then you take the other bits from somewhere else and you add those onto the design, and you're cutting a full page of design rather than one little bit of it. And I want to tell you, it's quite amazing the difference it makes to time. However, the other thing I found out was don't try and make 1 card at a time. And this required, my logical mind had a problem to start with, which was, if you start something, finish it, right? How many of you have that mindset? So, I was trying to make 1 card and finish it. Well, there's a lot of wasted time when you do that. So what I decided was I would spend my day in segments. And the first thing I do is I need to hear my cutting machine working. That was in my mind. So whenever I'm doing something and the cutting machine isn't cutting something, that's a waste of time, right? And it's amazing how just having, is the cutting machine working? I kept asking myself that question because that's what my inner voice was telling me. Why is it so quiet? You need to be cutting something while you're doing something else. And, once I got into that habit, when I listened to that voice and went, yeah, it's a good point. When I'm cooking, is the cutting machine going? Because, that's time that the machine can run all the time I'm cooking. Why? I just have to keep loading it with paper and telling it which design to cut. So by the time I get up the next day, I've got lots of stuff to play with already cut. However, there is a downside to this, what I call mass production multitasking thing. You don't know until the next day that something was wrong. So you have to be prepared that, you could have had a problem that you didn't know about. Because when you're cutting 1 at a time, and if the blade depth, well, that's the interesting thing about this. You can have the whole lot set up beautifully, and the blade depth is just right, and it's cutting beautifully. And then for some reason, the next day, same blade depth, same everything, and it doesn't cut the same way. Why? Well, I thought Jody made an interesting point. Jody said, and I hadn't really thought about it, but you imagine 1 blade trying to cut all those intricacies. All right? And do you think that the blade will dull fairly quickly, right, when it's doing that many little cuts through quite 60-pound cardboard? So that's a very good point that you made, Jody, that sometimes we forget the work that is required, all right, to do something. But what I found is that one day I got up and I went to go and start weeding, which is getting those little bits out. And I found out the blade depth was wrong. And, it had been right the night before, but for some reason it wasn't right the next day. And I had to literally destroy 3 cards that I had done. And it broke my heart. But then one of the things that I noticed, I wonder if any of you have that sort of mind as well. I kept looking at how much paper was going into the recycle bin. And that worried me. Now, the good news is, as it was this case, all right, if the blade depth was wrong on this piece of white, all right, the white is the card, and then the color comes on extra. So what I realize is I just need to trash this bit that went wrong. I still can keep this bit, right? So now it's a case of take the extra moment and just make sure you save this bit for doing something else. And that led me to another interesting question. And I love asking myself these questions because it's amazing how your inner mind will give you answers. Oprah Winfrey said, always listen to your inner voice. All right. So I asked my intuition, I asked my inner voice, I said, I don't want to throw this much paper away. Have you got any bright ideas? And with that, I carried on doing what I was doing. I also checked in with myself. For the sake of productivity, is it better to find that there was an error and end up losing 3 cards? Or is it better just to do 1 card at a time? And without a doubt, it was still more productive to do the multitasking version. So what I heard back, and that's the interesting thing for me, what I heard back was, it's okay if you find things to make with the paper that's left over. So then I started to look, what is the paper that I use most for Christmas decorations? All right, and this is the whole thing, that I'm doing Christmas stuff now because the time it takes to, if you think about this, you're going to need to get cards in the mail by probably, if you're going overseas, probably mid-November to make sure they get there in time, right? It allows 6 weeks. Now then, you got to think about, if I'm sending you a card that I've made, I need 6 weeks if you're international to me, right? For my package to get to you will take 6 weeks. So that's 12 weeks. And then I've got to make it. So you understand, that's why I'm doing Christmas in July, is because I need to be making now for stuff that has to go overseas. And it also means that come probably September, sometime in September, I'm going to stop taking orders that are from international people because there won't be enough time. Or I'm going to have to say, do you want to pay for the extra to get it there express? But there's no guarantee on those things. Strange that, isn't it? I got this quote here that says, listen to your inner voice that allows you to be you. How many of you say, if I didn't have to fill in the blank, I would And I want you to listen more to that. All right? Or if I weren't sick, I would be doing this. Or if I weren't poor, this is what I'd be doing. If I weren't whatever. In my case, if I weren't about to be 75, I would still be doing. You see, when you listen to that, you go, that really is an excuse. If you want to do it badly enough, you will. One of the things that I found, which you can probably imagine, is the chair in my craft room, which is now called Confetti Corner. The chair there is a ball chair. One of those rubber balls that is on a frame that has wheels on it. And what I realized is that you sit completely differently on a ball chair. and you sit with your legs splayed, and then it's like a what do you call it? What do you call this? Squat. That's right. So you're sitting in that squat position all day, and then in order to move, you're pushing with your legs, all right, one way or the other. And I suddenly thought, I should not discount how much exercise my legs are getting. Never mind making stuff, how much exercise my legs are getting. They're getting a real workout. And I hadn't thought about that before. And also, in order to balance when you sit on one of those ball chairs, you have to have pretty good posture. You lean too far over, the chair's going to whiz out from underneath you. Not a good idea. Yeah, and Jody's saying, I 100% agree. It's like a physio session. But Jody, here's what I also found out. The first day I was in pain after the first day. And then I smiled and went, I guess I used muscles I haven't used for a while. That's a good thing. And so the second day I wanted to know, was I still in pain? It took about 3 days for it to calm down a bit, but it was interesting. Muscle engagement, yeah. Muscles I hadn't used before. So I don't know if any of you remember, but about 2 years ago, my website broke down. And then out of nowhere, I got this. I didn't close it down, but I also didn't have the money to get it fixed. All right, to get a website that's been got malware in it takes time and money to get it fixed. And I just didn't have that money, or the money that I had, I wanted for other things. And so I just left the website broken for 2 years. Now, it broke my heart because I had quite a following on my website. And then I just went, it is what it is. And then my logic kept saying, why are you paying for it if it's broken? Why don't you just close it down? Does that make sense to anybody? Like, why are you paying to have the website when it's broken? So now you need to make a decision. Fix it or nuke it. Now, the reason I didn't want to nuke it is because I always ask myself the question, what if I couldn't talk anymore? What if I couldn't do broadcasts anymore, for whatever reason? Would I still want to write? And the answer was yes. I would still want to help people, but I'd use the website more in a different way. So I went, well, if you know that to be true, then you need to keep the website going. It's really important. And I said, yes, but because it's broken, I have to start all over again. Can any of you relate to that? And the voice in my head said, you did it before. And I went, what? And I said, you did it before. You started with nothing 10 years ago, and you built a website that was getting thousands of views a day. So what makes you think you can't do it again? The difference is you'll do it more quickly this time because you know what you're doing. You know how to manipulate, it sounds the wrong word, how to use the program that creates stuff. So therefore it will be quicker for you, less scary. You'll be able to do it much more creatively, except now in the 2 years, they totally upgraded the program that does it. So now you've got to learn all of that again. So what I did was I said, okay, I wonder how much it would cost me. And I tried to think up to what level would I, be prepared to invest on the website, because I was definitely kept hearing, you need to get the website working. So I decided to bite the bullet and buy the wonderful nerd, I call him my web nerd, to get my web nerd to have a look at it and give me an assessment of whether it was fairly easy to fix or whether I needed to start all over again in a different way. And he came back to me and said, no, we can fix this. So I went, okay. And I'm smart enough to know that he probably didn't know exactly how many hours it was going to take, because until you start working on something like that, believe you me, if you've ever tried creating a web page from the back end, you will know that it takes way longer than you can ever imagine. All right, just to get one post up takes a long time. And so I knew not to ask him how much time it would take. I just knew that, the most important thing for me was to know somebody cared about what I was doing, cared about DearMamaSal, and then also, um, wouldn't be ripping me off. So I said, go ahead, fix it as best you can. And he did. And it was amazing that it ended up costing me less than I thought. And isn't that the way of life, right? That sometimes what you fear most doesn't come upon you. And then, of course, once it was fixed, I needed to start feeding it. And there's no point having a website fixed if you're not going to put anything on it. So then I kept hearing that I need to use it as, what do you call it? A marketing arm, if you like. And I'm going, yeah, but what am I going to put on there? And then I said, you've got everything you need for that in your life at the moment. So look around your life. What have you got that you're not utilizing enough? And I went, my cutting machine. All right. So by listening to my inner voice, I then said, okay, so what could you put on the website that would be beautiful for people, but also maybe create the odd extra buck here and there? Why? Well, because you all know everything's more expensive. And if you, like me, are on a fixed budget, maybe you're on disability or maybe you're retired like I am, our budgets are not increasing with inflation. All right. We are having to do with that much less because we have a fixed income. And I thought, I've got to stop talking about this and have a look at my own dwindling, all right, savings because everything's costing me more. And it's time for me to be accountable now and go, it doesn't matter how little it is. What I need to do, and that's what the voice told me, what I need to do is start supplementing my pension. So, sounded like a good idea at the time. My next quote says, listen to the wind, it talks. Listen to the silence, it speaks. Listen to your heart, it knows. So the fact that I was getting such a strong sense of messages about fix the website, be creative, put up stuff that you can enjoy making. And then I thought, enjoy making? Are you insane? And I thought about the struggle of making some of the things. And I said, my inner voice, that other one said, you got to be out of your mind. You got to be out of your cotton picking mind. You know how long it takes to make these things. Do you really think it's ever going to make you money? And I went, you know something? It's not about that, is it? It's about enjoying the process. Remember, we said last week, life is about the journey. It's not about the end result as much as the journey. So I need to be open to the fact that I can do this. I don't have to be a highly successful business person at it. I just need to see, can it supplement my pension in any way? Only one way to find out, and that's to do it. Which came to the next bit. My logical mind, or my business mind said, that means you got to spend money. And I went, why would I need to spend money, you ask? Well, if I'm going to sell a card that is somebody else's design, I'm going to have to buy the commercial license for it. Make sense? Now, luckily, that is not a high expense item, but you understand that. You can't just take somebody's design and use it. You need to have the commercial license that says you are permitted to use it commercially. And then you got to think, well, okay, I've got to have a selection of different things. Can't just have one. So now I need a selection of different licenses. And so then that starts going, you need the supplies. And you think about it, cardstock, you need blades, as you heard. You need cutting mats. You need, so many things, right? So what I decided was I'm going to believe in myself enough to buy in the stock I need to keep me going until Christmas. By Christmas, I will know whether this actually works or not. Listen to this quote. It says, "Be still. The quieter you become, the more you can hear." Well, the funny thing is that when you're sitting there weeding out the confetti, as I call it, amazing the ideas that come to you. What I said to Jody during the week was, it's actually quite an obsession, especially when you're multitasking, because you've just finished doing this, but now the printer has finished cutting that. So your natural tendency is to want to get on and do the next step on that, whatever that is. And what ended up happening was I was literally spending so many hours a day doing it. I'm going, this is beginning to feel like work. And then my inner voice said, what is that quote? If you do something you love, it will never be work. And I said, now listen to this one, and I want you to think about it. When I was dealing with certain frustrations and things, and I will tell you more in a second, but I kept saying, this is when I'm doing it for my pleasure. Imagine if I had deadlines I was working to. How many more blades would have a problem? How many, and it was interesting how my mind was working. And then something really weird happened. My business mind really kicked in. I spent years being in business, and I'm going, it's about the ROI. For those of you who don't know, that's a bit of business jargon. And that stands for return on investment. Okay? It's called an ROI, right? Return on investment. So I was looking at how much time am I spending doing this? And is there any way that there is going to be a sufficient return on the investment? The answer is, in terms of the supplies and stuff, yes. But would there ever be a sufficient return on investment on the time that it took? The resources would pay for themselves, but what about the time? All right, now Jodie's making an interesting comment here. She's saying, your joy is so apparent, even when just talking about the process of creating cards. It also brings her so much joy to listen to me talk about it. Well, but you also know that it's like life, Jodie. It's not all the good stuff, right? You know that I go through a lot of struggle to get to the good stuff, and that's life. So here's my business mind talking to me going, what about the return on investments, huh? And it kept coming up this week, right? Kept coming up. And one of them was, what the heck are you doing? You're about to be 75. Is this a time to be starting a side hustle? I think that's what they call it, right? Is this the time to be playing with a side hustle? And I went, yes. The reason it's the time is because I may need the money, right? With inflation doing what it is and everything else, right? If I want to keep my lifestyle, I may need to supplement my income in some way to keep that lifestyle. There's a limit to how much you can downsize everything. My next quote is, listen to your inner voice. In the still and the quiet, say out loud what is troubling you, and wait and listen and feel. You may not like the answer, but it will be there. And it'll be the truth. So when I heard that thing, what about the ROI? I went, hmm. So then, it's amazing how all these little things come into play. So then, like I wasn't busy enough. Thursday is my day for doing everything to do with Dear Mama Sal broadcast. And right in, when I'd finished doing the framework for today's broadcast, I thought, let me have a look at that ROI. And I went, okay, let me see on e-commerce. All right, e-commerce has been around for a long time now. How many views do you need to make a sale? What is the average, right? You're not talking about that it will work the same for me, but what is the average? What are we really looking at? And so I found that out, did the research, and I found that out. And then I did a spreadsheet. You can probably imagine that. Now, I've started the website. I got it functional, I think, at the very end of June. And in July, I was doing the bits and bobs. I got a post up and did some other things. But only on July 24th did I put up the Christmas in July, the start of that campaign. And the interesting thing is that my goal, listen to this one, my goal in July was to get 100 views on the website. Well, I'm pleased to tell you that we've had more than that, and we're not even at the end of July. My goal for August, because I've got that sort of set up, is to get 250. So the question is, will I get to that by the end of August, which will be our 10th anniversary, by the way? That's, I listened to my voice, and my voice said, from your experience last time, is it possible to double the numbers every month? And my answer was yes. From my memory, it was possible to do. But the question is, how much work do you have to do to get that to happen? And again, what worked 10 years ago might be different today. And so, time and experience will tell, right? So the question that I had was, do you want to start doing all of this all over again? And I went, if that's the price it takes to supplement my income while staying at home and being relaxed and doing something I love, yeah, why not? You see, the quote here is always listen to your inner voice, your instincts. So when I did the math, and luckily I'm quite good at manipulating figures on a spreadsheet, I started, you all know about compound interest, right? All right, so you understand that 100 in July and then should become 200 by August if I've got the calculation right. Now I've actually said 250 as my personal goal because I want to do the work to create 250 to guarantee that I will get that. But then think about it, by September we should be up to 400 views, right? And by October that would be 800 views. And then by November 1600. Do you see how the compound of it is really adding up now? And by December, we should be getting about 3,200 views. Now, what I wanted to know, and that's what I did the research on average, how many views did it take to get an order? All right. And I got that figure slotted in, and then I started to do the calculation as how many orders could I get. And then I got a little scared. Then I started to get a little scared because I realized if I do this right, I could create a monster. I could create a monster. And what the good news is, I will know that by December. That's what I worked out. So the funny thing is, have a guess. When you compound the figures like that, let me see if I can get that for you. How many views do you think that could be by this time next year? All right. Let me just get that up so that I can tell you. Bear with me a second. Because this is what I find so interesting, is when you do the math, all right, then everything becomes really clear. All right. So by this time next year, that is July 2022. Hang on. 23. We're in 22 now, right? 23. We could be getting, if we do this right, how many of you want to, well, travel this journey with me? We could be getting as many, we could be up to about 400,000 views. But the scary thing is, that I would not be able to cope with the volume of work if that was true. And I don't know about you, when I started to worry about that, I could hear one voice in my head going, bring me that problem. And the other part of me went, so what would you do? I'm a risk manager, so what would you do? And I thought, well, I'd need to have somebody help me. Maybe somebody else with a cutting machine, that if I have found the way to get the business, then maybe somebody else would like the business too, and I could share it with them. And it's amazing how that business mind of mine suddenly came. I don't think it's been awake for a long time. And then here was the joke. I only took it up to June of 2024. By June of 2024, it's 2 years away. Can you believe we could be getting as many as 800,000 views? If the math is correct, I will only know as the months progress whether whether it does keep doubling in views. And this is, to me, that's quite exciting. Now, Jeannie's saying, why not? It isn't just how old you are, but what you enjoy doing and what good reasons for doing this. Yes. I was also thinking it's not necessarily about just I would be able to keep up my standard of living, but I also thought I'd be able to help other people do that as well, if it works. All right. That's what I was saying, that if I've created the monster, as I said, that way, if I've created the thing correctly and it does actually work, the business plan, then I would be in a position to help other people. And I like that. I like, as you know, I really enjoy leadership. So it would be wonderful to be able to have, I could have virtual assistants all around the world with their cutting machines doing the work. Right. And I would just feed them the leads and, teach them the process. So to me, there's that part where then the other part of me goes, and then you just franchise it, And I'm going, Sal, you're 75. What are you doing? And you know what my answer was? You are doing what you can to hedge against this inflation lasting for longer than you want it to. And I went, that's a good point. So my question to you is, Jody's saying this is exciting. I wanted to know whether it is of interest to you to see how I do this and to share with you, how are we doing on the number of leads we've got? How are we doing number of views we've got? How many orders? I don't expect, quite honestly, for the web to bring me orders in the short term, right? And there was this other part of me that said, what if you don't start getting orders in a way that makes it sustainable until this time next year? I mean, I believe I will get orders. And I went, would you be okay spending a year building the stock up and building, your ideas up, ready for more business next year? And I went, that's the long game. Why not? So the fact that I've started now doesn't mean it has to be profitable now. It means, am I ready to do the work now? And what I realized was yes. Now, I wasn't prepared to sacrifice doing the broadcasts. So the next thing was I can only work at it sort of on certain days of the week, the ones that I am not involved in doing broadcast work. You know, it's amazing how my whole mind has been doing all sorts of things. I'm quite shocked at how productive my mind has been. It was like somebody clicked a switch somewhere and it was totally different. It came out of retirement suddenly. Weird. Now, you remember I said this thing about I was worried about how many trees I was throwing into the compost. Now, I don't throw my paper away. I use it either in my organic bin or I use it in my compost bin. If I got too much in my compost bin, then I will put the rest into the organic. So we know it is circle of life stuff. It's, you know, it's getting decomposed and making methane gas, which is, you know, all our local municipal vehicles run on self-fulfilling methane gas. You know, in other words, they take all the organics, turn it into methane, and that runs the vehicles. I think that's so exciting. Can you imagine when 40 years ago, if we'd heard that, we go, yeah, right. But it's happening. So now I went back to that problem. Gave my mind the problem, which is, what about this paper I'm wasting? Or paper that I was wasting? What do I need to do to fix that? So I didn't spend a lot of time on it. What I did was I asked my mind, what do I need to do with that? And then carried on making more confetti. And, you know, the funny thing was, I got this one voice in my head, and she's very judgmental of me sometimes. And she just went, duh. You'd make things that take little bits of paper. And I go, okay, smartass. Like what? I got to show you. An advent calendar. Now, what's your first reaction to seeing that? All right. And now I want you to see it at different levels because I want you to get different feelings. What's the feeling that you get when you first look at it? It's so cute. That's what I thought as well when I saw it. And then, you know, I didn't let my mind spend too much time on how difficult it might be. It's so cute, got me. Because if I think it's that cute, the chances are other people will as well. Now, how many bits? Remember the ROI, people. All right. How many bits are there? One, the whole of the back. Okay. Then you've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's part of the original. 7, 8, 9, and then 12. Because these have got 2 dates on them, right? So you can turn them over. You know what I mean? You can pull this out and make it. I know it's cute, isn't it? So then it becomes December the 4th, which happens to be Big Brother Jeff's birthday. Now then, can any of you imagine trying to put all those bits together? But you know, Jodi's saying she smiled when she saw it. Jodi, did you smile when you saw this? All right. And did you smile? Oh, by the way, this is the glitter version. I'll be showing some different ones. You know, and that's what I want people to do. I don't want it just to be Christmas cards, because what do I know? From my experience of making cards like this for people, people frame them, right? They think they are so beautiful that they don't put them away. They put them in frames and then keep them for Christmas decoration. I found that people who received this just very quietly folded it up and put it in the Christmas box. Why? It is a beautiful Christmas decoration on its own, right? Which is why I don't sign it. I just put a piece of paper, put a pretty bit of card in there to show. All right, yes. Jody's saying, I was in awe of the nativity card, one of the prettiest and most elegant cards I've seen. All right, so you look at this and go, I don't want to be in the business of just making any old Christmas card. I want cards that people want to keep forever. Because I was thinking, if I can't afford to spend a lot on presents this year, can I make presents that will be meaningful? All right. And you will remember that last year, I made a version of this, the center part. Actually, it was a different design, but I turned it into window art. I blew it up, and so it's about twice as big. And then I actually had it, I've got double glazed windows and I can get between them. And I literally had I've got two big bay windows, right? Three window panes in each bay. And in the space between the two, I had this. And so you look at it and go, to me, it is really important that when people see this, that they go, that is beautiful, right? It's not about, to me, it's much more than just, can I make a card? It's, can I make a beautiful card? And if the answer to that is yes, do you understand that the ROI suddenly has a different meaning? What is the overall impact? Now, we go back to remember all the supplies I bought and everything else. How many of you are worried about that? Well, this is what I worked out. I'm going to keep making stock until I've got more than enough to give all my family and friends if I don't get an order. Do I think that's likely? No. But here's the thing. I will keep making the stock until I've got all my family and friends covered. And therefore, Christmas presents are covered. Why? Because I can make beautiful cards that they can send next year if necessary, right? So to me, it's like I can make this my Christmas project for myself without, in my mind, so that the ROI doesn't bug me too much. So, it's really interesting. And the good news is that we are going to know by December whether the model works or not. Yes. Is saying that I have all my cards. I could never throw them away. A box full. I can't remember the last card my mom signed. Yeah, it's funny. Some people have kept their Christmas cards for a lifetime. And to me, I used to really frown upon people that put all the last year's Christmas cards and the years before up as their Christmas card collection. And, I realized people do that. It's not that I got that many friends. These cards have been collecting for years, people. Just looks like they got that many friends. And I did find that when I had those shutter blinds that, the louver blinds, they're a really good place to hang Christmas cards, I found. I love that. Now, I've now got what they call honeycomb blinds, so you can't do that. So, I have to find a different way. So can you understand that this whole journey this week has been a life journey? First of all, my mind told me to fix the website, and I fought it because I didn't have the money. And then suddenly one day I woke up and I thought, I need to do it now. Why? I need to do it now. So I did. You see, I had a leap of faith and did it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And then when I had got the website up, in June, I thought, what am I going to put on it now? I need something to put on it that will be exciting for me to put stuff on there. And then I realized that one of the things that had crashed on the original site was the whole of my shop had crashed. That brought another problem. Do I put the same shop back in, or do I do something completely different? Well, I just, with the recommendation of my web guy, I put in a different system. And now that meant I had to learn something new again. Frustrating? Yeah. And it actually, I did fairly well. And then at one point, I just got beyond my control. And I just literally got hold of my web guy and said, just, help me here, please. And he did. And, I took the next step forward. So I've learned a lot. And I think at some level, there is that thing which is the more you use your mind, the more your mind works. Is that a thing? The more that you use your mind, the more it works. It's a bit like your muscles. All right? If you don't use it, you lose it. So I thought, if I just look at this from a mental health point of view, do I want the stress? No, but who controls the stress? All right? I get to control the stress. If bring me the problem. If I get too many orders that it's beginning to stress me, then I shut down the order time. All right? And just go, we don't take orders again until whatever. Right? I control the stress. Or it controls me. So this is a lesson in life, isn't it? And then I found that my sleeping habits have changed. Suddenly I'm getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning some mornings. Why? I had a bright idea and I want to try it. You see, it's an obsession, people. You get the Dear card working well, all right? And then you want to know, all right? Then you want to know, well, does it look better or how does it look with glitter? Well, then you got to think, if I have to make a lot of these and my whole life going to be with glitter all over my face and everywhere in my house, I don't want that. So I need to solve that problem before I start offering glitter cards. And then you go, okay, fine. You know that I made this in red. How many people would prefer it in white? All right. So, all these things are questions. And then I had the problem with, what do I do with all the little bits of paper? If any of you have got any ideas, pass them on to me. One of the things I thought about was I could make tags. And I thought I could just, literally put in a set of tags, and, just buy a little ribbon for it, or the twine for it, and just put in a set of tags with an order as a thank you. It would mean that I didn't waste the paper. Or what if I wrote the thank you on the card? All right. And so, it's amazing how your mind gives you answers. And then then that negative part of me goes, who wants tags? And I went, it's not about that. Right? It's about a thank you. And so to me, it was like, now the ROI voice kept going, are you serious? You're going to spend the time cutting little things like this? And I went, what if it's part of my routine? And so now, when I finished, and by the way, the word finished is very difficult. Very difficult, the word finished, when you're being creative. When I have finished for the day, I then do something that, really surprises me. I sort out all, when I'm working, I put the obvious trash in the trash, but then any of the weird shaped bits of paper, I put into another box, all right? And I do that all day long. And then at the end of the day, I look at that and I cut them into usable pieces. And then I file them in size. All right. So if I'm looking for a bit of pink paper to do the face, it may make sense that I cut 4 faces out of this one piece of paper that I've got left from something else. Makes sense. Or if I've got red, right, maybe I cut 3 of the snowman out of the red. Now, what about all these little things? No, I don't cut those individually. You got to be joking, right? So, but what I found, another thing, that you see, when you start taking a one step forward, you get more problems. So what I found was when I print all the cards together on one sheet of paper, if you touch it, it smears. Now, it doesn't mean you got to wait 5 minutes for it to dry. It means you got to wait a couple of hours for that ink to dry. You learn that the hard way. So now I've got this whole system where I will print 4 one after the other. That's another thing about return on your time investment. It is much quicker to print 4 of them one after the other than it is to do one at a time. All right, because the setup on the computer is all right, the setup on the cutting machine is all right. So you might as well do 4. All right, and so what I found was, I'm a smart cookie. Where are you going to put these to dry? Well, it can't be on my freezer, because I need that to do the glue stuff, right? The spray glue. And then I thought, I can hang them on my cubies, right, with bulldog clips, and they can just sit there and dry while I'm doing other things. You see, you start realizing that necessity is the mother of invention. I've got everything I need. I just need to use it intelligently. And it's fascinating. How am I storing different cards? Well, guess what? My favorite storage system, as you know, is Kleenex boxes, right? So I'm just cutting the Kleenex box, and I've got different sorts of cards in different Kleenex boxes. And I've now got them in a cubic unit, in line. These are the deer, these are the trees, these are, the nativity ones will be starting up now, 3 wise men. So, it's like I can see that my mind is busy organizing at a whole different level. Hi, Nash. It's good to see you, and it's good to hear that you are feeling a bit better. It's wonderful to hear. So, while I'm talking about this, are any of you getting any ideas? Do you have a voice in your head that's talking to you about anything? The fact that I am talking like this, does it give you ideas? Because that's what I want you to see, is that if you start thinking what is possible. It was funny. I was talking to Jody yesterday about how long have we been hearing that she'd really like to go to the beach. And one of the things that, I knew was transport would be an issue because they don't have a car. And then I thought to myself, I wonder what it costs to rent a car these days for the day, or 2 days even. I wonder what that costs today. Because if you don't know what it costs, you don't know how to create the money. All right. And the same thing, if I don't make the investment of getting the base tools together, then I am not ready to do business. So you look at it and you go, what if all the preparation that I'm doing is ready for next year, not even this year? That was the big issue with me. And I'm going, you've got to be joking. You'll be 76 by then. And I'm going, I don't really care. What if? So I'm hoping that you can see that this is a really important point to think about. I've got to take a break. I'm going to be right back. I've just realized something's happened and I need to do something. So, Jody, can you just hold the broadcast for me for about 3 minutes or so? I'm sorry to do this, but it's really important. So I'll be right back. Okay, so hopefully it didn't take that long. All right, so what are we saying here? All right. All right, so I'm sorry to have to leave. I hope I don't need to do it again. I've got issues going on here at the moment. How's the weather? Yeah, good question, Jody. The temperature inside my house is about 80 at the moment. I got my air conditioner set to kick in at 80, but my kitchen is hotter. All right, because this is where I've got the skylight and the sun really hits. So I will probably put it up a bit in a minute if I'm going to be sitting in my living room. What I like to do is to actually go work in the confetti corner, otherwise known as the craft room, where I, can have fresh air pretty soon because that part of the house, gets cooler first. It was over 90 on my deck yesterday. That was interesting to me. It's just like, really? Um, but it's cooler in a different way. If it gets too hot, then I come into the living room where the air conditioner is, and I enjoy it. And by the way, I just wanted to let you know that I got an invitation from Doug to um, go visit him on Tuesday, so that's exciting. So let me see what the comments were. All right, Jeannie's saying that my organizational skills are amazing. All right, so what was it, Jeannie, that you heard that made you make that comment? All right. What blew you away about the organization? The chances are that you are an organizational person as well, because if you are organized, then you would appreciate organization. Yeah, Jeannie's saying today it was cooler than the past few days when it's been around 90. It got up to 100, close to 100 here. It got over 90 here in British Columbia, if you can believe it. Um, it was just like, and what it said in the weather forecast, this is the temperature, but it feels like, and the feels like was over 100. All right. So, and I'm talking Fahrenheit, even though I'm in Canada, because I know most of my viewers will relate to Fahrenheit. So here's the thing. When you hear the story, can you hear the compound bandwidth, if you like? It starts off with a little idea, which is I need the website fixed. Okay, I got that. What am I going to put on it? Now the bandwidth stretches. Now, what colors am I going to use, or what variations am I going to use? You understand, and all the time, the bandwidth keeps expanding. And so, you look at it and go, I thought I retired. But that was before we hit pandemic and inflation and the cost of everything's going up. And I still have costs that I need to do. So I think I'm being responsible. All right. And it's not about, oh, well, you're lucky you've got a cutting machine. No, it's not the most profitable thing I could do. Right? Think about it. It's not the most profitable thing I could do. So that's what my mind kept saying about the art. What about the return on investment, right? And I went, wait a minute. What things do I also offer? And so when I created the booking form, what I did is I had the cards as one option, but I had other options. That's called the funnel, all right? Which is, now you see that I do other things. And so to me, this is like, it'll be interesting to see whether the actual model works. And if it does, I will probably be kicking myself that I didn't do it 10 years ago that way. But you see, that doesn't get me anywhere, does it? You think about it. I believe everything that we do brings us to the point that we're at. And so to me, it's like, what do you love to do, and could it make you money? What do you love to do, and could it make you money? And could you just do it a little bit? I'm not saying that you have to create, $1 million out of it. Like, could it supplement your income a little bit? All right. And you remember my comment to Jody? She loves to do research on Facebook Marketplace. And she's really good at finding deals. And I'm going, that to me is, you need to look at that and go, what if you just bought one or two things and sold them on? Could you turn a couple of bucks profit on it? I think so. Yeah, Janie's saying you offer gifts to people. You know how to create these. You do it happily and concisely. I hope it can pay off. Yes, I hope it can as well. But here's the reality, Jeannie. I won't know unless I do it. All right? Does that make sense? Unless I believe in it enough, then it definitely won't happen. My question is, are people, I don't know how much to even charge for making one of these. I mean, seriously, I have no idea how much to charge for making one. But what I need to know is, would you buy one? Or would you just look at that and go, that's gorgeous, but buy a cheaper one? So I think it needs to be there as a benchmark almost, to go, this is available. And maybe every now and then somebody wants one of these. I don't know. Because I don't think I could sell it for less than $10, and that's still not the price that it cost me. The ROI voice is saying. And you think about it, that this again takes time, all the little bits. And when you've got arthritis, all the little bits are not easy. But does it serve a purpose? Does it use up the scraps of paper? Yes. And you see, If it uses up the scraps of paper, that's the reason I'm doing it. I'm not doing this necessarily. You don't understand. It's like it's a whole process. Jeannie's saying I had a business for a while selling collectibles, furniture, paintings, odds and ends that were special. I made some money and I loved it. Yes, if you do something you love, you will never have to work a day in your life. All right? Because it's something that you love. And that's when I had to stop and think at one point this week, Jeannie, when I was getting frustrated and I'm going, you're getting frustrated and you haven't even got orders yet. And I went, yeah, but this is why I'm doing this now. I'm doing this now so I can find out what the problems are and get the excuse me, get the answers before. Makes sense. Okay, so Judy's saying then the place that I had things went out of business, so I was done. Do you mean where you stored them or what, Jeannie? So my question is, you see, e-commerce is just an amazing thing. And what I'm saying is we don't have to have a store anymore, right? Okay, so the what I want you, and that's why I want you to watch what I'm up to. Why? Because today you do not need to have a bricks and mortar store. Today, the most important thing you can get are people coming to your website. I've already done that, Nyasha. If you go to DearMamaSal.com, it's already there. All right? But this is the whole point that I want to sort of, what I thought was maybe what I'm doing is not just for me. Maybe it's to help some of you as well, who maybe also just need to maybe sell a couple of things during the month just to make maybe an extra $50 or maybe an extra $100, to help with the groceries, just for a little bit of your time. All right? Just for a little bit of your time. And if you're saying, I don't have the time, think about if you don't have the money, you need to make the time. Yes, and Jeannie's saying, nowadays I'm still trying to return our home back to normal. So am I. I've still got 10 boxes in the back room. But you know the way I looked at it, Jeannie? I'm going, if this works, then I can pay somebody to do the painting of the cupboards in my in my laundry room. It's like, yeah, I can do it, but I'd much rather somebody else did. So I'm starting to say, my mind is starting to give me, what can this bring me? All right. What little extras can I get just by doing this? Now, at the front end, does it take a little bit of time and trouble and investment in myself? Yes. So Jeannie's saying we found 3 pieces on Marketplace. That I want to tell you, Jody has found incredible things on Marketplace. Incredible things. Now the question is, I want to tell you, Jody this week found an incredible living room sectional thing. Beautiful. Looks almost new, and it was giveaway for free. Now, if you had the room to store that short term, you could sell that for $150. And it would still be a deal. You could sell it for $250 and it would still be a deal. You see, this is what I'm thinking about. That if people are trying to sell stuff, and people are downsizing, so they're giving away an awful lot of stuff, Jody. People are downsizing, right? So you're saying, yes, but we don't have the place to store it. Well, hello. Either get smaller things or find somewhere. And it's like, I think you guys are incredibly, incredibly creative if you want to be. So let's stop muttering about the cost of living and the cost of gas and everything else and go, the other option is to make more money. Now, the voice in my head, I don't mind telling you, said to me, Sal, when everybody's hurting, are they going to pay money for good cards? Right? Voice in my head said that to me. When everybody is doing, I went, not everybody, no. But you know, some people will pay money for good cards because they know the impact, and they might not have the ability to be able to buy a very expensive present, but maybe they give something that's going to last and be valued. And I believe that that is a very strong possibility. Now, I could be wrong, and I'll let you know whether what my voices are telling me is BS or whether it was intuition and I followed that. You see, to me, something has to change. We cannot just sit there, muttering about it. We need to be proactive and do something about it. And it's not a case of, I've got to go for a mammogram in a couple of weeks. Now, there's my voice in my head says, what if they find something and you've started up a new business? And I'm going, well, what if they don't? You see, what if for all I know, I could be dead this time tomorrow. But that's not what I'm concentrating on. I'm concentrating on something that I learned a long time ago. A long, long time ago. I wanted to buy a house, and I didn't have the deposit money. And I want you to hear this story because maybe it will make sense to some of you. And what I did, I had a very fancy job, as it so happened at the time, but I needed extra money. So what I did is every night when I came home, I made these beautiful silk flower arrangements. And then at the weekend, I would sell those arrangements out of the back of my car at the local grocery store. They allowed me to do it. I never, ever went home with any of them. They were so pretty and people just loved them. And so interesting, right? And then one day, my boss stopped. He saw me there and stopped and said, what is it worth for me to tell your staff what you do at weekends? Or rather, what is it worth for me to not tell your staff what you do at weekends? And I said, I'd be very happy if you told them how far I'm prepared to go to get what I want. And he said, you honestly think you are going to make enough money for a down payment on your house by selling flower arrangements out of the back of your car? I said, no. No, I don't actually. But I believe in karma, and I believe in a God, and I believe in all sorts of things. And I know that all I have to do is the best I know how with what I have. And as that quote that Jody gave us said, then the rest of the bits will fall in place. And through ways that I have no idea about right now, I will get the house. And by the way, 3 months later, I bought the house. And it was, the bits fell into place, and it was just like, the important thing is, are you sitting and complaining about it, or are you proactive? Are you spending your time saying, what is going on? All right, so Nyasha's saying, I'm giving a suggestion. Why not create cards for specific occasions upon orders, birthday cards, which isn't on the shelves, to benefit the needs of the customer base? I actually, what are you thinking about specifically? Because I already have cards. I just haven't got them up on the website yet. Do you want to see them? But yes, I actually am now, I realize that I've got an awful lot of art, and that I am now turning some of my art into cards. All right. Um, Original art. But I just haven't got them up on the website yet. I need to do the Christmas in July stuff. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. So I just want to make sure that I understand exactly what Nyasha's saying. Jody came up with a really interesting thing. She said, could you make one in certain colors so that it will match my sister-in-law's color scheme? And I went, absolutely. So, Nyasha, I've started making little cards using up the colors that I have, the little bits of paper. That was another way to use them. All right. So this is some of my original art. And it's a good point that I just haven't got them up on the website yet. So more of my original art. For those of you who love purple, more of my original art. I don't know why, but something told me that that would work. Okay, so Nyasha's saying, I can't really explain properly, but uniquely printed cards like those places do, saying in icing for people. Yes. So, that would be very easy to do. So to personalize it, is that what you mean? If you want the card to have the writing inside that says, whatever from Nyasha, can I do that? Yes, of course. That's a very good thing. Nyasha, you love this one, I think. This is for be happy or be wonderful or be blessed, whatever it is that you want somebody to be. Now, I haven't got the license for that yet, but I may well do it. And then another thing that I did was I started recycling Christmas cards. Okay. I just wanted to see. And what I thought was, if I get a collection, I could take them to an old folks home or something and let them do that. So I understand a little bit more of what you're saying. What I thought I'd do is to ask my community, if you throw your cards away, please don't let me have them. I am artistic, Nyasha. That's what I do. You understand, making a regular card would be so much easier. I don't go for easy. I go for impact. To me, that is a work of art. All right. That's not just a card. It's a work of art. And you understand, um, making my art into cards. At the moment, I have art that's doing nothing except sitting in a box. It was wonderful. I was telling you I'm going to go and see Dougie on Tuesday. You know what he asked me? Because I know he just moved into a new place. And I said, what do you need, honey? Yeah, think about what you might need in your kitchen. I've probably got 3 of them, whatever it is that you need, right? And the other thing was that while we were talking, he said, I do have a request. And I said, good. What is it, honey? And he said, I don't want you to bring anything this time. But what I'd like you to do is um, to look at the new place that I've got. And with your incredible, this is what he said, your incredible sense of style, could you look at it and tell me what artwork that you've got do you want to put in there? In other words, he wants more of my artwork. He's already got quite a bit, but he wants more. And funny enough, he likes a lot of the small ones. People um, do take my small art stuff and put them in frames, and um, it's interesting. But I thought, the fact he would specifically want some of the artwork, and I went, sure. I got two big boxes, artwork boxes, full of stuff that is actually acting as my bed head at the moment. I've got it covered in in beautiful stuff, but I've got two boxes full right there, and I've got boxes of smaller art that's sitting in the studio at the moment. So you look at it and go, I've got talents that I haven't sold. And somebody came in to visit me recently and was talking about, wow, I love the art that you got to go in here. And I went, good, it's mine. You did this? And I went, yep. So to me, it's a really important thing that you look at what are you good at. Now, I personally, I just did it because I loved it. I got boxes of the stuff. Why don't I use it? So, Nyasha, I thank you for your input. And one of the reasons that I want to talk about what's happening is because I know you guys have got lots of great ideas that can help me. I also know that if I do this in a successful way, you will get ideas that you hadn't thought of, right? Because I will have shown you what is possible. Or you can let that voice in your head say, huh, oh yeah, it's okay, it's Sal. But you see, I think that there are an awful lot of people that are going to get very creative now. All right? Very creative because they need to. And necessity is the mother of invention. Remember, if I hadn't had the problem with the glue, I would not have accidentally found how to remove it quickly. And I went, if I hadn't been brave enough to try different solutions and to see if it ruined the cardstock. You see, it's easy to get the glue off, but does it ruin the cardstock underneath it? That was my challenge. So, and then there's a voice in my head said, you need to sell this. You need to bottle it and sell it to other people that are crafters. And so you understand, you actually start off with one thing, and all the time the bandwidth is doing this because it's like muscles. The more you use your creative juices, unfortunately, in some ways, the more creative you become. Now, can any of you understand what my confetti corner can look like if I don't keep control? And what I've discovered is it actually works really well to keep things in a process. In other words, the cutting machine needs to keep cutting. Why? It takes, what did we say? I think it takes 18 minutes to cut that. All right? Or I can't for the life of me remember how long it takes to cut this, but it double the time because, to get all those bits out. But you know what else I discovered? I realized I was using, old cutting mats and everything else. And I thought, something, if you are going to do this, would some new cutting mats be in order? Yes. So I bit the bullet and I bought some new cutting mats. You want to know something really interesting? New blade, new cutting mat. You cut this out flat, obviously, and when you lift it, most of the little bits stay stuck on the cutting mat. Was that worth knowing? Probably saved the production time, cut it nearly in half. Doesn't do all of them, but most of them. It is beautiful, isn't it? It's I call it a grouping. Oh, I call it a grouping, but you can buy them individually. All right. So it's a little mantelpiece set. But the good news is I can ship them flat, and all you have to do is to take the double, the protector off the double-sided glue and just put them together. So it just comes, it'll get mailed flat. So I want to say that it's been a really shocking week. I have been shocked at how many ideas I came up with. I was shocked to find that this actually works beautifully for using up all those little bits of white and everything else that I've got left over. And it uses black card. You know, sometimes when you buy cardstock, they give you colors you don't know what to do with. One of the colors that I noticed they keep giving you, and I really, other than Halloween, I don't have a use for, is orange. So if anybody can think of some really creative ways to use orange cardstock, let me know, because I've got a lot of it. And I'm thinking, again, maybe I need to make some window decorations, all right, for Halloween, big ones, that you can stick up on your window. That would use up orange cardstock. You see, when I talk about it, the idea is right there. I just have to listen to it. Yes, that's a good idea. See, Kimmy? And that's why I need you guys, because you guys will help me think of ideas. Kimmy's saying, autumn harvest festival type things. Orange pumpkins. Yes, lots of those. All those Thanksgiving cards. I wouldn't think of Thanksgiving because we don't do it the same way as you guys do. And by the way, our Thanksgiving is October. Yours is in November, but ours is in October. So yes, the question is, I better be doing some Thanksgiving stuff right now, right? Use up some orange right now. I don't know even, what I want to do, and I don't know if any of you heard me talk about the timeline. You need 6 weeks for anything to get to somebody in the mail. So if you want to give it to somebody, it's going to take 6 weeks for you to mail it. But maybe I need to, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I need to be somebody that can make it and send it for you. This card was sent to you by Jeannie in Maine. Right? What do you do on your Thanksgiving salad? About the same as you do, Kimmy. Yeah, so then, and Jody, we found the answer to that already. Jody and I found the answer to that. Jody and I wanted to send a card to Lauren in Tasmania. And what I did was I got Jody to sign something, take a picture of it, send it to me. I took that picture and I digitally included it in the card. I can do this. That would be one heck of a service. It would mean I can take orders much later. But I've then got the problem of getting the addresses and everything else. But it's doable. So if it starts to get late, I could do it that way. You see? Do you understand what I'm getting at? When, that's what I loved about having a team of people. I've always loved having a team of people around me because I just have to sort of throw the questions out there, and somewhere along the line, people will come up with answers. And some of them won't get used, but you know something? Everybody's answer triggers something else. And that is the important thing. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being on my team. And my question is, are you interested in watching what happens? Yes, you see. And Kimmy's saying to me, if I had addresses, I'd send cards from Wyoming. All right, so you don't want to be part of the team, you mean? You see, you understand that we could create, um, it's amazing how many, in today's reality, you understand what is possible. All right. And so I'm thinking, boy, but the problem is that I would need to get the cards to you as well. But give me that problem. That's the whole thing. You see, again, the most important thing to remember is if you want to do things, you will. All right. I worked it out. I know this sounds really strange. I even worked it out this way. If the model that I've designed works, I can not only help myself make money, but I can help other people make money. But also, here's the thing. Say I get it working the way that the compound thing works, I would have a business worth selling in 5 years' time. I would have done the work, and I would have created the machinery that generates the leads, that gets the sales, that gets the business. Therefore, that is a viable business to sell. Now, that's not why we're doing it, right? We're doing it to make a little bit more for the grocery money and the gas money and everything else. So I just want to know how many of you enjoy hearing about things like this. Does it help you to know that it may be important that you start thinking like this, that you look at whatever it is you're doing? My question is, am I correct about the return on investment? I can only let you know that in about 3 months' time, maybe Christmas time. I will have not because of Christmas, by the way. I just need that time lag to see, does the multiple system work? And if it does, is it bringing sales on a very niche market? All those sort of things. I want to see, does it work? And if it does, then, hey, wouldn't that be fun to have that problem? But I do want to tell you something, that if you remember I did the math, in 2 years, if this compound thing does work the way that I think it may, it's the number of views I could be getting in a month, 2 years from now, that is really scary. And there is, I quite honestly, if the system that I've designed works the way that I think it might, I could be in big trouble by Christmas time. But what I'm hearing here, and I want to thank Nyasha for throwing that out, the most important thing now is for me to get variety of cards up there, not just the Christmas ones. Did I hear that correctly? You understand why I needed to put the Christmas cards up now, is they take the longest to make. And therefore, if you want them, you're going to have to order early. That was my thinking. But I think what I will do is actually put a graphic up there to show why I'm putting them up. That would make more sense. Yeah, thanks, Nyasha. I'm so glad you popped in. Thank you for helping me for a change. You see, we all help one another when we all use our brains together. Yeah, Jeannie's saying, but if it starts to get overwhelming, this will only be available for the next 3 weeks. After that, it's done for the year. Yeah, you tell people that certain things have sold out. However, I can put you on the waiting list for the next time it goes into production. Yeah, if you would like me to. So, it's like we will only know by testing it out. How many of you think this actually could be quite funny. And how much could you learn along the way? But I want to tell you that one of the most important things is to have hope. One of the most important things is for me to believe that maybe I'm not the only one who thinks that card is beautiful. Maybe I am not the only one to think that that grouping is just magical and it will look wonderful on a mantelpiece. And by the way, that's where I need to photograph it, on a mantelpiece, because that's where it'll end up for most people. So, you look at it and go, I will need your input. And I really appreciate the fact that you are doing that. It makes me feel very special and it makes me feel very loved. And I look at it and go, this could be quite exciting. And I will keep updating you with the new products. By the way, I want to make sure that you guys see what the products are, because as you see that they don't all go up on the website. I will just keep releasing a few more things every time because that all takes a great deal of time to get organized and done. Unless any of you are skilled at WordPress, in which case, you might have a job. So I look at it and go, think about what is doable and know that you already have what you need. I found it quite interesting. You remember I struggled all that time to learn how to make my own bread. I wanted to make this sourdough multigrain bread because it wouldn't spike my blood sugar as much. I found it really interesting that when I had Yvonne and Wade over and I made pitas for them to stuff with meatballs and things, Wade looks at me and said, "Are you selling these?" And I said, "No, why?" And he said, "They are the tastiest pitas I have ever tasted, and they are just wonderful." And it's just like, we don't know what we can do. By the way, be very careful about making stuff that you cook to sell, because there is a food safe thing that is very important. All right, so Niesh is saying, Asal, could you ask your customer base, what do you need cards to say? I don't have any wording in my cards for that reason. All right, all my cards are blank inside. So you get to say whatever you want. I don't, that is something I don't need to do. Because most people have got their own printers but I understand. Yeah, so they're all blank inside, all right? I would not be rude enough to tell you what you ought to say inside. However, what I do think is important is, don't look at this as a card. Imagine it framed. And now it's a lifelong Christmas decoration. All right? I think, or put it in your window. All right, so I think putting those options in is a better idea, because I don't think people think about that. And then maybe, what ideas do you have? Why not use the customer base as the ideas generator? It is, I want to tell you something, Jody. That's what I want people to realize, is you might not be able to afford the present you wanted to give them. But what if you gave them something that you can just add a frame as a part of the present and go, this is a Christmas decoration for life, if you want it to be, all right? And the other thing I say to people when I give those cards, I've been doing it over the last couple of years that I've been making them. What I say to people is, here it is in a frame. Use the frame for whatever picture you want, but keep the Christmas one at the back. So at Christmas, you just switch them over. The picture of you all on the beach, goes to the back, and the deer come forward. So it's again, a multi-use thing. I think people need to know that that is possible. Yeah, maybe I need to do a video on that so they can see it. Good thinking. All right, everybody. So thank you. I was really interested to talk to you about all of this because I wanted to show you how just the little thought in my head created this, and then this created this, and then this created this. And now look where we are. And how excited are we going to be to get a sale? All right, Jody's saying, we frame the Christmas cards you've sent. We cherish them. They are the last decoration that gets taken down. Yeah, but you know, Jody, as I always say in the nicest possible way, you are a tad biased. And so for those of you who are regulars, you maybe need to tell me which card do you want to show. Yeah, so Niesh is saying, so it can be doubled as a photo as well as a card. No, you can put a photo for most of the year, but when it comes to Christmas, you put the photo at the back and have the card at the front. So it does do duty time. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for sharing this. I hope you could feel the energy. And, you know, that's what I wanted you to feel when you're on a new project. It's amazing how you get energized. Whether that project is planning how you're going to get to the beach, Jody, right? Even if it's a dream, all right? This is about the planning. You know, it's like, think about how much time we waste every day. How much time do we waste every day when you could be using it productively? And the funny thing is, you have heard that well-known expression, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Because the lazier we are, the lazier we become. I'm now looking at doing work in the confetti corner as exercise for my legs and my, let me think, when you're doing a squat, you know, I've got so many muscles that I'm using that I haven't been using. I am bouncing around on that chair and you know, and then I swing to do this. And then you know, I'm getting the swing down pat, you know, and I swing to get to my printer to do something. And I look at it and I go, it's got to be a good workout for my hips, my legs, everything. So to me, is that a good investment of my time and money? I think so. This is DearMamaSal saying, listen to the voices in your head. And even listen to the negative ones, all right? You remember the negative ROI one, the return on investment voice kept saying, but you will never, ever get back the cost of your time, right? And then I said, okay, I hear you. It's a good point. How can I balance that in a different way? And that's all I needed to do, was to work out how I could balance it out. And I had that answer because another voice gave me that answer. This is DearMamaSal saying, thank you all for being part of this journey. And let's see what life brings us next. We never know. Something could happen tomorrow that totally changes everything in our lives. Are you flexible enough to start again? This is DearMamaSal saying, I think we can. Jody, thank you for all your support and your help, and as usual, for looking after me during the broadcast. We'll see you all this evening. We're going to be cooking up some turkey. We've got some nice ideas for some turkey breast, and I look forward to seeing you then. This is DearMamaSal saying, bye-bye for now.